What is up guys, Fancy Charmander here bringing you another solo run video. I decided to do another one after the first video did very well. Thank you guys for your love on that video. In this video we'll be tackling Pokemon Sapphire with only a BELDUM. This challenge was suggested by Metamech. Go ahead and show him some love for suggesting this very intense challenge. BELDUM is the pre-evolved form of Metang and Metagross. It is still in Psychic type with many resistances and 4 weaknesses. But in this game it only has 2 weaknesses. This challenge itself does not seem hard, but keep in mind the only move BELDUM knows and can learn is Takedown. BELDUM will take damage every time Takedown is used and he's unable to get stabbed. Since that is his only move, Steel and Rock type Pokemon can be a pain in the butt, and Ghost types can only be damaged by struggle. Almost every gym leader in the Hoenn region, as well as the champion himself, has Steel and Rock type Pokemon, so this challenge is going to be a very long one. The rules of this challenge is simple. I cannot use other Pokemon to battle unless I am forced to do a double battle, but I cannot attack with that Pokemon. I am allowed to have HM slaves, but they are not allowed to battle. Battle ends once BELDUM has fainted. No X items or revives can be used during any time of this playthrough. Healing is allowed since BELDUM's only move is a recoil move. Now that we took care of that, let's go ahead and get started. Be sure to hit the like button and make sure you subscribe for more videos like this one. So we start off our adventure in Little Root Town. As you know, my name is Fancy, so we decided to nickname ourselves Fancy. So we're here in Little Root Town saving the professor from Wild Poochyena with our own starter, BELDUM. Poochyena himself was a very easy task to defeat despite missing the first takedown. The professor decided to give us BELDUM, and of course he asked us to go up north and find his daughter May. May had the starter Mudkip, was the easy one. I should have gave May a Torchic instead, but I decided I was already too into the game. Next up is the Rock type gym. It was a difficult one, especially the Geodude. He has a defense curl, which was a pain in the butt, especially since he was also Rock type. But luckily we did end up going through it. It took me a couple of attempts. Nosepass ended up being an easy one since he didn't really use defense curl, he just went straight up for attacks. Next up in Dewford Town is Brawly. I assumed Brawly was going to be an easy one since fighting types were neutral damage against us since we were parts Steel and Psychic. But it was all the critical hits and all the times I missed takedown what got me. So we decided to train up and challenge Brawly again. This time we one-hit KO'd the Machop, and the Makuhita was a 2-hit KO, which was a simple one. Next up we fought against May again. This time she has 3 Pokemon. 2 of them have a type advantage against us, which was Numel, which was a fire type, and Marshtomp, which was part ground type this time. But despite that, she was really easy to take down. Next up, we got Watson. Watson was a hard one, not gonna lie. All his Pokemon was part Steel type, so he was resistant to our only move, Takedown. And the only problem I really had was basically almost all his Pokemon had access to the move Sonic Boom, which about 20 damage every time, which was difficult since we were lower leveled, low HP Pokemon. So I decided to train up BELDUM enough that way I can take a couple Sonic Booms. So we raised him up to 42, and we ultimately started to fight against his Magneton. His Voltorb happened to self-destruct, which was really good for me since we ended up resisting that self-destruct. Next up we went to the top of the mountain to face against Archie. I assumed Archie was going to be a difficult challenge. Luckily we had the ability Clear Body, which prevented the Intimidate from having us lose attack stat. I actually assumed that Sharpedo in the end was actually going to easily take us out for some odd reason, but luckily he went down in 1 hit. Next up we got Flannery, the fire type gym, which has a type advantage against us. The 2 Slugmas she sent out was a very easy one. I knew Torkoal was a part rock type, so it wasn't going to be easy, but I did not expect the overheat to take me out. So we decided to train up our BELDUM to better withstand that overheat. But luckily, actually, luckily that overheat happened to miss, and we ended up getting a critical hit, which was very good for us. And we ended up defeating Flannery. If it weren't for that, I think I would have had to train a lot more. Next up, we faced against our dad, Norman. Slacking was kind of a pain. Luckily, he had the ability loafing, the Truant ability, so that helped us a little bit. But he just kept yawning us, and unfortunately, I didn't have any full heals on me at the time, so I wasn't able to awake my BELDUM, despite my BELDUM being asleep for 5 turns, which was very insane for me. And we ended up losing just because BELDUM missed a takedown and he landed a focus punch on us, which was very unfortunate. The slacking was next time we battled, the slacking was a very easy thing to take out at first, and then the Vigoroth was also easy, and then we ended up fighting against the last slacking. Luckily, we did end up landing that takedown, and he missed his focus punch, and we ended up defeating him. Got the balance badge. Next up, we got May. Luckily, it was raining outside. If it weren't for that, I think we would have got a lot more damage from that normal. But yet again, the normal was also part ground type, so he also had access to magnitude, which did quite a bit of damage. But since we're higher level, we took that like a champ. The Marshtomp came out. It was a 2-hit KO. He almost killed us, leaving 13 HP, but luckily we ended up defeating him and ultimately just beating him. Next up is the Flying type gym. The Flying type gym, you know, it was really annoying, especially with that Swallow with the double team, but luckily we ended up landing our moves and we ended up defeating that in the Altaria. The Skarmory was part Steel type, so of course he would resist, and just fortunately for us, when we got him to low health, the Flying type gym leader happened to heal him up, all good as new. And unfortunately for us, we did end up running out of takedowns, so we had to use Struggle against the Pelipper. But ultimately, we did end up winning and got the next gym badge. Next up, we fought against our rival, May. This was the last time we fight against May, actually, because I think they switched it over to Wally being our rival. But anyway, we one-hit KO her first 2 Pokemon. The Marshtomp did give me trouble, a lot of trouble. Just because we ended up missing that last takedown, we ended up losing, so we restarted the battle. Swallow, 1-hit KO. Numel, 1-hit KO. And finally, that Marshtomp was a 2-hit KO, but luckily we ended up defeating him. And then the Shroomish was, well, a 1-hit KO. Next up, it's Liza and Tate, the Psychic type gym. Fortunately, both Pokemon were part rock type, so we had to bring in the Zubat just to be the double battle, since I couldn't really have any other Pokemon besides him. He was level 7, so he wasn't going to do any damage to them. The one thing I didn't take account was the Solrock having access to Flamethrower and Sunny Day, which really, we took so much damage from that. I ended up leveling BELDUM up all the way to 75 just to have a chance to defeat them, but fortunately we just kept missing and missing. Next up, we fight against Archie for the last time. You know, I actually did not expect the boss battle this early. I thought I was going to be catching Kyogre, believe it or not. But we ended up fighting Archie for the last time. He did bring up some powerful Pokemon who kept getting me confused. But luckily we took it like a champ, and we ended up one-hit KOing the Sharpedo in the end, actually. After defeating Kyogre and Archie, we ended up facing against the 8th gym leader, which was Wallace. The only real threat on his team was that Whiscash with that ground typing and the possible Earthquake, but luckily he just went for a Rain Dance, and we ended up 2-hit KO his Whiscash. The other kind of threat was basically the Water Pulse and the Confusion, But luckily the BELDUM actually pulled through for once in his life and actually defeated Wallace, and we ended up getting the last gym badge. On our way to Victory Road, we ended up facing against Wally for the last time. Wally did bring in a really powerful team, I must say. The Altaria was a 2-hit KO, Delcatty was just 1. The Magneton I thought was going to be a threat, but luckily we did end up getting that critical hit and we didn't have to deal with it. Roselia was no problem. Gardevoir, well, it took a little bit of a while with that double team and constantly missing. We ended up almost one-shotting him, but fortunately for us, he just kept he just healed up just for one more turn. And last but not least, the Pokemon League, the moment we've been waiting for. This, I'm not gonna lie with you guys. This took too many tries to count. I ended up just battling Sydney this whole time just to grind up to level 100. I didn't go to end road, Victory Road. I mean, it just took many times to actually grind up to level 100. It took me quite a bit. This is why the video took a while to make. Actually, the one thing I didn't count for was the second Elite Four member having access to Ghost type Pokemon. Actually, when I hit level 100, I went for it, and I forgot I lowered the PP of my takedown. That way, by the time we get to the Elite Four Ghost person, it will be just using straight up Struggle the whole time. Fortunately for us, though, I ended up lowering it to 6, but I believe Sydney had one Pokemon with the ability Pressure, which causes us to use more PP than we needed. We ended up defeating him. We ended up going to Phoebe. Dusclops was the only biggest threat on the team, basically, with access to Confuse Ray and Earthquake. But luckily we defeated both, and all left was 2 Bannettes and 1 Sableye, which just went for Shadow Ball the whole time and didn't really do that much damage to us. So we ended up defeating all 3 Pokemon, and ultimately we ended up defeating Phoebe, the Ghost type Elite Four. Next up is the Ice type Elite Four. Forgot her name is like Glacia. Her team wasn't really a threat. About 4 of her Pokemon came down 1-hit KO, except for that first Celio. He somehow survived on 1 HP somehow. I have no idea why. He probably had like a defense nature. But we just 1-hit KO'd her whole entire team. Wasn't a threat at all. There was no Pokemon that was a threat on our team. Last of the Elite Four was Drake, the Dragon Master. The only threat on his team was basically Salamence with Flamethrower. Even though the Flygons did have access to Flamethrower as well, the Salamence had more special attack power, you can say, and caused me to lose a lot of HP fast and had to heal up a couple of times. But luckily we ended up defeating the Salamence, and all left is the Altaria. The Altaria just went for straight up Dragon Dance the whole time, and we ultimately defeated him. And last but not least, the moment you guys have been waiting for, the champion, Steven Stone. Steven Stone was by far the hardest challenge I had to face in his whole playthrough. Not only was he the champion, he had access to 3 Steel types and 3 Rock types, one of which was Aggron, which was Steel and Rock type, which quad resist our takedown, which was not fun at all. Luckily though, Aggron did use up most of our PP, that way we get access to Struggle faster. As you know, Struggle does not really have a type. It's not really a normal type move, it's just you can say it's a neutral type. No type move, you can say. But one thing I didn't take account though when I did face against Steven was that Aggron and Metagross later on had access to Earthquake, which did a buttload of damage on us just because it's super effective. And we constantly had a heal up, attack, until finally we ended up defeating the Aggron. But fortunately for us though, Steven had access to 1,000,000 full restores, so as soon as we get close to defeating one Pokemon, he just raises it up, and it takes a long time. This battle took about, I want to say about 30-40 minutes about, just to defeat. Luckily for you guys, I just sped it up by about 700, about 1,000, yeah, 1,000%. I raised up just to you know, make this an enjoyable watch, I guess. But last but not least, we ended up defeating Metagross. Last but not last are his two fossil Pokemon, Cradily and Armaldo. Both had access to Confuse Ray, and the other one had access to Water Pulse, which also caused confusion. But luckily we pulled through. BELDUM actually came through for once. This whole playthrough, he just kept missing his 85 accuracy takedown move. It was like the same accuracy as a Zap Cannon, in my opinion. But anyways, we defeated Steven. We gained the champion title, and we defeated, or we beat Sapphire. Thank you guys for watching this video. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't. If you guys actually made it this far, I recommend subscribing. It'll help me out. It'll encourage me to make more videos. If you guys have an idea for a future video, please let me know in the comments below. I do plan on making more of these, so stay tuned for more. Some of the ideas I include will be a leaf green playthrough with Bulbasaur only. Someone in the comments suggested a milk tank with only rollout on Heart Gold, Solar Run, as well as a B Barrel HM only playthrough. So that'll be interesting. Like I said before, thank you guys for watching. Have a fancy day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.